Okay, so from like an evolutionary biological point of view only, one could say the purpose of pain is to gather information to ensure the survival of the species so that they avoid the risk of that painful experience in the future, right? So we could say the purpose of pain is to kind of startle this system, alarm this system with adrenaline, right? To pay attention to mobilize that energy to pay attention to the painful experience, to take a snapshot of it, which then gets encoded in as a memory so that the system learns to avoid that in the future. So that's a survival, like basically a rudimentary survival um, response to pain. If we take it one step further and we look at our heart system and we look at the human being as a complex system, not just a survival system to avoid pain and death, right? But if we look at it from the point of view that we're evolving as a species, that consciousness is evolving, that we have an intelligence within our heart that is measurable now, that is separate from the intelligence in our brain, separate from the intelligence in our gut, right? So we know we have these three intelligent organ systems that communicate with one another, but actually, in and of itself, are unique in their own way of sending and receiving information. And so, in part, I believe that part of our evolution as a human species is to actually live from the heart. That I think that that is moving towards an evolved state of being. Because when we live from the heart, when we open the heart, we're no longer living in a place where we're guarded within our hearts. We behave very differently and we think very differently. We move and shift into the more social relating aspect of our polyvagal system, right? And we rest more there in that connected, calm state, which actually serves us differently than when we're in this isolated survival state of preservation and protection, which is causing all of the dysregulation and the mental distress that we're experiencing collectively. How do we open the heart? Is through our felt experience because the heart is the feeling center. And so, from that point of view, painful experiences, when we allow ourselves to feel the emotional quota of it, most often the result that we're feeling is grief, right? We might experience fear or anger initially, but something that is painful usually triggers distress, cry, grief, sadness, right? That's moving through us. Now there's pain as a result of inflicted harm that we talked about last time, right? We're like we break a limb, we get hurt, right? Somebody attacks us, or in the worst case scenario, we are in a torturous situation. Like these are horrific kinds of physical pains that we don't even want to think about. But at the end, in order for us to move that distress through our system, we have to find our tears. We still have to find our tears to complete that stress response. And in finding the tears, it's like moving through our heart. And so when I say pain was the gateway to the heart, I'm meaning that when we open to the grief and the tears associated with the pains, whether they're externally inflicted physical pains or whether they're emotional pains as a result of loss, right? of any kind, or emotional pain internally as a result of certain thoughts and experiences, like how we're internalizing certain experiences and thoughts, we're going to be moved to feel the achingness of that within our heart system, and the end result of that is to find our tears in grief. It's the grief that actually offers the healing balm to the embodied system. In that, there's a softening that happens. It's like all of us who've experienced grief in which we've been held in it, we know it's grief, maybe we know what we're grieving. It's like when we after the arc, there's like a resting, there's a calm, there's like a soothingness that comes over the system. There's even like a tiredness, right? But there's an opening that starts to happen. And we become more, in a way, more sensitive to our environment, which makes us more vulnerable. And in that vulnerability, which is our greatest strength and our greatest weakness, right? We want to protect ourselves again. So we want to armor up because it feels so vulnerable to be walking around discharging all this survival stress through tears. And yet, that's the antidote that's going to keep opening our hearts so we can feel more. And in the feeling more, we behave differently. But we can also achieve that through pleasure. And I think that's what I was talking about last time, too. Like that actually, in states of pleasure, if we allow ourselves to take in the joy and take in the bliss or the ecstasy, we're moved to tears. And the tears again stretch open the heart. And so that's why each of those pain and pleasure are portals or gateways, in my opinion, to the heart. If we learn to not resist the felt experience of it and trust that we can move into the expression of those tears.